You're watching Telesur. This is from the south, from Caracas, Venezuela. I'm Carla Gonzalez. Let's begin. We begin with the Migrant Caravan. The first group belonging to this one is staying in the city of Tijuana while they wait for asylum applications to be processed by the United States. The Mexican government has presented work offers to those who are able to obtain legal status. However, many express doubts over these job offers. Activists have denounced an agreement with the United States to prevent migrants from continuing their trip. Meanwhile, some church groups are providing portable showers and aid to some of the migrants. They're also giving them coffee and donuts. Mexican police prevented hundreds of anti-immigrant protesters from reaching a migrant shelter in the city of Tijuana in Mexico. A rally was previously held against the arrival of migrants to the border city. Protesters shouted "No to invasion" in reference to the migrants. On their part, migrants say these people do not represent Mexican people. Meanwhile, U.S. troops keep reinforcing the southern border. Around 100 soldiers deployed in the city of Laredo in Texas are working on the fence, placing barbed wire. Controversy continues as the military don't have the right to engage in law enforcement activities inside the United States. Let's turn to our correspondent, Alina Duarte, who brings us more on this story.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Así es, seguimos en la ciudad fronteriza de Tijuana.
More than 2,500 migrants have arrived in Tijuana and are few steps away from the wall that divides the U.S. from Mexico. On Saturday, President Donald Trump arrived in California, not necessarily to discuss the immigration matter, but to supervise the wildfires that are affecting hundreds of people. These wildfires have killed dozens of people, becoming the deadliest in the state's history. Trump mentioned that the 6,000 troops deployed across the U.S.-Mexico border will remain there until further notice. It's possible that the troops will remain at the border for a couple of months, much longer than was expected. The stationing at the border was supposed to be a temporary program. The U.S. president also said he was considering the option of closing down administratively the United States if Congress does not approve the $5 billion he requested to build a wall along the border. Many migrants who are part of the caravan have already requested asylum. Some of them are being helped by social organizations who have showed them solidarity. Today, there are demonstrations both in favor of and against the Migrant Caravan. The mayor of Tijuana has spread xenophobic and racist messages against the migrants, calling them lazy, drug addicts, and saying that they are responsible for the violent acts in the city. We will continue reporting on the conditions of many migrants who are arriving to this border city. They are still uncertain if they will move to other cities along their journey to cross into the United States.
That was Alina Duarte from Tijuana. Meanwhile, a new group of migrants from El Salvador say that they are heading to the United States. They are leaving from the capital to join a new caravan, adding to the thousands of others who have fled poverty and unrest in Central America's Northern Triangle.
We're going to board a bus to the border to see how it goes.
We'll need strength later on. You have to conserve strength for later. Better to go by bus.
Now let's head to Chile. Relatives of the killed Mapuche leader Camilo Catrillanca have urged the Chilean government to end the military operation in their territory. This after a funeral was held for the leader, killed by a military special group called Jungle Command last Wednesday. Relatives and members of his community are also asking for the resignation of the Interior Minister Andrés Chadwick. And repression started once more as members of the Mapuche community took to the streets in Temuco after the Interior Minister admitted that the officer that killed Catrillanca was using a security camera at the moment he shot them, and that this evidence was destroyed by carabineros. Our correspondent Paola Dragnich was at the site of the repression and reports.
Both the version of the policeman that fired and the version of the Interior Ministry agreed that there were no images of the time Catrillanca died. But the new information revealed that the policeman did have a camera assigned, but the memory was destroyed by the same police. Another important fact is that before the assassination of Camilo Catrillanca, a 15-year-old boy strongly tortured by policemen said that he was able to identify the agent who shot Catrillanca, and that also in that place he could see everything they did to the security cameras.
Paola Dragnich from Temuco. Now to Argentina, where the Navy has released the first images of the submarine that went missing when its 44-member crew 1 year ago. Images from the control room of the search vessel are showing the exact moment that the Ara San Juan submarine was found. It was lying more than 900 meters deep in the ocean. The government has said it doesn't have the necessary equipment to bring it back. The area where it was found had been searched about a year ago by an international operation, and it failed to locate it. Friends and family members of the Ara San Juan crew are outraged with the government during the search and after the discovery of the submarine. After a year of search, relatives ask that the submarine be recovered in order to begin an investigation. They demand that those responsible be brought to justice. In recent months, many doubts have emerged about what really happened, as authorities blame an accident in the ship.
Those guilty are here. Those responsible for what happened with the Ara San Juan and our sailors are here. I have asked, and I have always asked, for those responsible to go to jail. And if they have to go to jail, they should go to jail.
We want closure to this. This has to end once and for all. There have been 366 days of pain and waiting and despair, and at some point it has to end.
Let's hear from our correspondent in Argentina, Sabrina Roth, who tells us more about the discovery of the submarine.
The Argentine Army and Defense Ministry have released a joint statement confirming the discovery of the Ara San Juan submarine that went missing 1 year ago. Hired by the Argentine government, the U.S. marine tracking company Ocean Infinity found the watercraft just before it was about to suspend the search until February for ship repairs. However, Defense Minister Oscar Aguad said that Argentina currently lacks the proper technology to recover the submarine that lays over 900 meters deep on the sea floor. He said they haven't entirely given up on the recovery, but even with international help, it would be hard to succeed. Officials are yet to determine their next move. Relatives of the missing 44-member crew said they are very disappointed how the government has been handling the case. Some question the exact date of the discovery, as President Mauricio Macri had announced at the anniversary of the disappearance that there would be news about the submarine soon. And 2 days later, they suddenly found it. Judge Marta Yáñez is in charge of the investigation that spans over 70,000 pages with 70 witnesses, but no one has yet been held accountable. She's also going to determine whether to proceed with the recovery of the submarine.
Sabrina Roth from Buenos Aires. Coming up, we have more stories, but be sure to follow us. We are on Twitter at Telesur English and my account at Carla G. Telesur. Give us a follow. We'll be back. And we're back. Brazilian lawyer Jorge de Oliveira presented the Supreme Court with a measure to guarantee the presence of over 8,000 Cuban doctors currently working in Brazil. The lawyer introduced an habeas corpus request to allow the doctors to remain under asylum or with a permanent resident visa. Following criticism from Brazil's president-elect, Cuba said it would leave the program. If it comes through, 611 small municipalities would have fewer resources and would leave remote areas without any medical attention. Former presidents of the left in Latin America will attend the G20 Counterforum. It will take place in Buenos Aires starting this Monday. From Argentina, Cristina Fernandez. From Brazil, Dilma Rousseff. And from Uruguay, Pepe Mujica will attend the event. This is aimed at providing an alternative and critical thinking in contrast to the official G20 forum. The Counterforum will be focused on equality and social policies for the Latin American region. Former Peruvian President Alan Garcia has requested asylum in Uruguay. Hundreds of protesters are outside the embassy of Uruguay in Lima to protest against the request, as we can see in a tweet by our correspondent. Garcia is accused of corruption related to Odebrecht in the Lima Metro case. The Foreign Ministry said Garcia entered the residence of the Uruguayan ambassador late at night. His request will have to be evaluated by the government of Uruguay. And in Bolivia, indigenous women have hopped on bicycles to race on the streets of El Alto, one of the world's highest cities. With an average elevation of over 4,000 meters, El Alto hosted a bike race for indigenous Bolivian women known as cholitas, who competed in their traditional skirts. Almost 380 women raced through the streets of Bolivia's second-largest city. This is the 5th race of its kind and is open to all women over 15.
I have always ridden bicycles since I was a child. My mother wore a skirt and rode in the countryside. I lived in the countryside and rode bicycles too, and I continue to do so now. Even though I'm older, I love it. We should all practice and ride bicycles. It's nice to ride bicycles. So at my age, I continue to ride, and I'm going to keep riding.
Julian Assange's lawyer has said that the WikiLeaks founder will continue resisting against a potential extradition and trial in the United States. Carlos Poveda said information was released that the United States was allegedly pressuring Ecuador to allow Assange's extradition. Assange says he's a victim of political persecution. He has been living at the Ecuadorian embassy in London since 2012 after receiving asylum. And in Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro spoke about criticism in the region against Venezuelan migrants. He took to social media on Sunday to send a message to Chile after a group of Venezuelans returned from Santiago.
Let's overcome these manipulating campaigns of lies. Let's join forces as brother nations. Chile and Venezuela are brother nations and must join forces and overcome all these campaigns against our people. Let's build a better relation of unity, freedom, and social happiness. My greetings to Chile.
Across Latin America, people are celebrating diversity. In Argentina, thousands were on the streets on Saturday. A massive march in Buenos Aires went through Avenida de Mayo and ended in the Congress. They celebrated the 27th Pride March. Bolivia was also present at the Pride March in Buenos Aires. With traditional clothing, Bolivians shared their dances and marched proudly among thousands. And also in Chile, thousands called on the Chilean government to legalize same-sex marriage and adoption rights. Marching in Santiago, they urged the government of Sebastián Piñera to approve a law which was already sent to Congress for approval by former President Michelle Bachelet in 2017. The Engabe Bugle community in Panama demand that the Barro Blanco hydroelectric plant be shut down, since they say it harms the community's underland. Let's learn more.
This is the Barro Blanco hydroelectric plant, which has caused water levels to rise, flooding the land of the Engabe Bugle community.
The government and plants administrators have imposed themselves on our people. The river is sacred to us. Our agriculture, our lives depend on the river. Our people live off it.
Flooding has damaged religious sites and has impacted the economy of the area.
There are nearly 15,000 people who have been affected by this plant.
But the resistance continues against the plant. In this makeshift camp, more and more people arrive to demand an end to it.
They are violating our rights. We want to live freely. We want our children to have good lives. But that is impossible now. We want to be respected.
While this project was sold under the guise of developing the area, the people who live here are yet to benefit. These people not only live in poverty, but are marginalized and exploited.
Another indigenous fight in the region. Now, protesters have taken to the streets in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, against corruption, with some calling for the removal of President Jovenel Moïse. Demonstrators say that they are calling for accountability of government officials involved in the embezzlement of Petrocaribe funds. Participating organizations are strongly condemning the misuse of public funds, as revealed in a Senate report which was released in October.
We consider this a historic moment. This is a historic date to start building a new history. A history that was stopped after the assassination of Dessalines in 1806. This movement condemns the misuse of public funds and is implementing a new neo-colonial independence system. The Haitian people want freedom to put an end to exploitation, to build a new system capable of resolving their own problems, to end subhuman working conditions and improve their living conditions. We take this opportunity to express solidarity with all of the Latin American countries.
We're taking one last short break, but stay with us. We'll leave you with this video.
This death only reaffirms the just fight of our people for our usurped lands.
esclarezcan estos hechos a la brevedad posible y pueda esclarecer.
Welcome back. Florida's outgoing governor, Republican Rick Scott, has been declared the winner of the state's Senate race. This was confirmed following a manual recount of ballots in the extremely tight contest against Bill Nelson. Election officials said Scott won by just a fraction of a percentage of votes. During the midterm elections, Republicans expanded their majority but lost control of the House of Representatives. Dozens of LGBTI activists took to the streets to call on the Ukrainian government to eliminate discrimination against transgender people. The meeting point for the march had to be changed as counter-protesters also held a march. 2 women were attacked with tear gas as there was police repression. The government says it supports LGBTI rights, but critics say homophobic behavior is still very common.
It's difficult to accept that some people are ready to resort to violence simply because other people are slightly different. Even though transgenderism has not been viewed as a disease in civil society for a long time. That is why it is important to make this issue visible and demonstrate that we exist.
The African Union said it will reform its funding. State members have agreed to undertake new measures aimed at giving more economic independence to the regional body. They will also try to boost trade in order to promote the development of the African continent.
We have seen the Continental Free Trade Area taking its part. We have seen that these reforms are happening. There is greater integration of the continent.
Things done for that to happen. We've seen
Houthi rebels in Yemen say that they are ready to mobilize more members to the front line despite a halt in the battleground. The United Nations will convene peace talks on Yemen soon after receiving confirmation from both parties that they will attend negotiations in Sweden. Diplomatic efforts to end the war intensified last week after clashes escalated in Hodeida. Its port serves as an entry point for nearly all of the country's commercial imports and humanitarian aid. In the Republic of Malta, authorities have reportedly identified at least 3 suspects believed to have ordered the killing of journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. Their names haven't been revealed yet, but local media quoted high-ranking officials and said the investigation was at a very advanced stage. The 3 suspects have pleaded not guilty and have been in custody for almost a year. Caruana Galizia was killed by a car bomb in 2017 as she was investigating the Panama Papers scandal, which involved the country's prime minister. And in Madagascar, 2 former presidents are set to compete in a runoff for the presidential election in December. The final results in the election will be only announced in about a week. Early results have shown that former presidents Andry Rajoelina and Marc Ravalomanana secured most of the votes out of the 36 candidates. Rajoelina led with 39%, followed by Ravalomanana with 35%. In 2009, the latter was ousted by protest led by his opponent. And running a marathon is a great accomplishment, but a group of runners are taking it to the next level as they run an even longer distance and in the Oman Desert. The first part of the 165 kilometers of the Oman Desert Marathon has begun with runners coming from all around the world. On Saturday, they finished the first part of the 6-stage race. They will compete through a variety of landscapes, crossing the Gulf of Oman to the Arabian Sea. In other stories, the first hospital in India just for elephants has opened its doors. The hospital, located in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, welcomes the animals, most of them who were abused by their owners. Run by conservation NGO Wildlife SOS, the place has a variety of high-tech equipment, such as digital X-ray for the patients. After being treated, the elephants are sent to a conservation center. Hundreds of elephants in India are held in captivity to perform for tourists and at religious events, even though they are revered as cultural and religious symbols. And with that, we come to the end of this news brief, but you can follow this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And we're also on social media. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching Telesur, Connecting the Global South.